Hello everyone, welcome to this week's NAOL review. I'm Albert, and I'll go through 3 single-digit Q games with everyone today. Hi George, I just started and we're in recording. If you have questions, you can just speak up at any point. So opening so far is fairly standard. One thing I'll say is black made several push in the upper side, but typically we don't want to make these exchanges unless we have to, because that just strengthens white's shape. If we want to just come out to the center, we should do it more indirectly. For example, jump would be nice, and a lot of times you see strong player make this cap on the outside. So just shoulder hit ones and cap, so this creates a strong shape. And honestly, most of the time, the most proactive way is to pincer first. So this creates some weakness for white and sets up some fighting variation. For example, white may push here, and then now what black can make these exchanges. So compared to the game, this will be more of an intense fight, but white wouldn't be able to develop the top. Here, white's pretty strong now. But the annoying thing for black is that there's still a cut aji. So at some point, if the outside black group, for example, white gets a turn and later gets some zone in the center, eventually black probably has to fix here, which will be a dominant point. So I would say turning and pushing is not a common move, unless maybe black has some framework on the right side. But right now, of course, this is not the case. Yeah, so white play here pretty natural. Black played here, the like a reverse kema. The shape here is a little bit awkward because white can always cut from here. Right now, white wouldn't do it because black can counter cut. But later, if the bottom side is all black's territory, this can be quite a glaring weakness. If this is all black's territory, then white might consider playing g3. So take note that black cannot just cut, because that sets up this Atari. Typically for this type of shape, it's best to leave it alone. So if white doesn't play, black can push up. This is a big move. But as soon as white plays the kema, locally there's not a good move for black already. Black may try to play here, but this is just a pretty passive move. And given that there's still several big points on the board, this is a little too slow right now. I'll recommend black to kind of pincer here, because then the two-space extension will suddenly be quite weak. So white tries to split the bottom side, black can continue to put more pressure here. For example, black can just play something like this, still fix a cutting point, and now white is just not alive anymore. Or black can maybe play here later, or just any move toward the center later will put more pressure on white. Eventually, this group will become a liability. Yeah, so white chose to just split the bottom. I think black veered off from Joseki. Joseki typically is just Atari. And if we continue through, it will be this type of shape. Right now, it looks like the ladder works for white. Just checking that, make sure yeah, so the ladder does work for white. However, black has a decent ladder break at this push. So if white captures, black can hane. Typically, even having a ladder breaker will be okay for white. But right now, white's right side doesn't have much potential. And black does already have a little bit of points in the corner. And getting 2 moves in the top, I would say, is more valuable than white's wall, because right now the wall wouldn't be super valuable. So I think black should play it this way. So on the other hand, we should be careful about playing this attachment when this is not technically the opening anymore. If they're stoned on the side, be careful about playing this attachment, because there could be synergy issues for white. If white just transfers to this side in a typical Joseki. And of course, there's ladder issues as well, like in this game. Black can push here to gain the ladder advantage. So a more common move, honestly, for white is just to play here. And if white wants to play even more directly, something like this would be perfectly fine too. So basically white will make a solid base in the bottom. Yeah, so in the game, black veered off from Joseki with this turn. And the fight transitioned to here. I think here both sides made some mistakes. Black definitely should parry here and turn. This creates weakness for white. Now white has 2 weak groups versus black only has 1 in the center. And the Tari also makes white shape heavier. I wonder if white has stronger moves, for example, blocking here. That may create more forcing moves. And maybe turn here. So, but this is quite complicated. I think unless both sides have done a lot of reading, they need to be really careful in this fight. A shape issue to note is this type of net and turn is most helpful when we can capture our opponent outright. So in the game, black has to connect because there's no way to capture cleanly, and white ended up escaping after the turn. So at this point, black is just better off playing the extension because white will probably play here or here or here. But the game exchange most likely just helps white. For example, it's like black wedge here at this point. So if white pushes, black can at least get several extension. And the black shape is pretty good. After this turn, black shape is still, black still needs to fix here, but white already fixed on the right side. In this type of shape, at least there's no white still on R7. So later black can still came out here. And it might be worth considering playing the Hane here. Because if black has more help in this area, then this Hane will work. Black can actually capture directly. So in this type of Liberty fight, it's very important to take note where there are potential sente. And if we use all of them, maybe we can leverage that to create a better result. Yeah, so this is not a successful result for black. Because black ended up with a very small corner, the outside group is not completely alive, and white got to save basically both sides. So black failed to punish white here. And now we see this type of weakness definitely becomes a liability. So later it's possible that the left side is not so big anymore because white can just cut off 2 stones. This is quite profitable too. So if this side is connected to the center, white can definitely sacrifice these 3 to capture these 2. And the thing is, if black wants to fix, there's no way to fix very cleanly. Black can, for example, try to push, and that will fix the G3 Aji. But the liberty shortage problem here still exists. For example, white can peep here. Black most likely will block, and then white can profit a little bit in endgame. Potentially black can play here, but again, this creates a lot of liberty shortage. So if white has stones here, this will be a problem. And at the very least, white can get a lot of forcing moves on the outside. So this type of shape just creates a lot of headache for black. And even if nothing happens, there's not a lot of territory. Here is a common Q player mistake. It's good to try to maximize the territory, but the kick and Keima sequence oftentimes leaves a corner weakness unaccounted for. So for example, right now, there's still a very obvious peep weakness here, or even the 3-3. In the game, black didn't punish white too much, but even at this point, the Aji here is very, very bad. Now, at least, very least, black can cut. So, in response to H17, this type of invasion is very common shape. It's very rare that this move will be ideal. Most often, it will be here, here or here. Some cases we can also attach from the top, but right now, the goal is to really protect the territory. The direction of play should be white protects the corner, black escape to the middle, and white try to separate and try to create a double attack. So white's goal on the side is very simple. Is really to just secure the corner, make sure there's no Aji, and black will be forced to run into the center, which is not as valuable right now. White made an extra exchange here is definitely unnecessary, because then black got two eyes. And honestly, at this point, black should take the chance to kind of create more trouble for white. Locally, white can try to kill, but obviously right now, the outside is way too thin for white to pull anything like that. Black chose, I think, several strong attacks here. This is the right direction. White just made an overplay. White has to block here, and if white blocks, the shape will still be fine. A better move for black is try to exploit the connection weakness. So black has to attach just to some sort of crosscut, and it will be quite difficult for white to deal with. Because if white try to capture one side, black can cut off the other side. So a common way to spot moves like this is if you see two 3 space extensions in a row, then you can think about a potential cross attach and cut. It doesn't have to be two double space extension. It could be one double space and one single space, and you attach to the double space and try to, if they have Hane from the top, we can bump in Hane. Sometimes we can cross cut as well. And if they Hane from the bottom, then definitely cross cut. Typically, there will be some Aji. So honestly, at this point, white really needs to reinforce here. And this will be a decent exchange. Just Hane, at least Hane once. And then maybe protect. Spend a move here to fix the Aji. Yeah, here white lost the base. Sometimes it's hard to figure out whether to choose the center or the side. But typically, we have to look at what the center, how big the center is really. And right now the center is not so big. So white has to prioritize eye space. And the later the game progresses, the more we have to prioritize the side and the eye space, because the less the center will be valuable. The value of the center will just diminish over the course of the game. And unfortunately, black made one inaccuracy. Black should Hane here. This is the vital shape. If you have a head of 2 zones and your opponent Hane on the top, like let's say the 5th line, Hane on the 2nd line is typically the best response. Because if you do anything in the center, white can always just Hane the 2nd line. And at this point, it's hard for black to profit at all, because white can gain, connect underneath. Right, so in this case, yeah, black didn't gain anything. Honestly, at this point, white can just leave this area and then just focus on the center. Even if black captures these 2 stones, it's not that big. White's focus really is in the entire center. It's not narrowly about these 2 stones. And if white really wants to do something, it should be maybe separate attack from this side to isolate this whole group. If white is not confident about that, then just reducing the center will be enough. Yeah, and then the shape, if Hane even once on the 2nd line will help a lot. So now if, let's say black plays here, this connection no longer works. Black can Atari. So at the very least, black can cut off 1 stone. And actually most of the time, we will even Tiger's Mouth on the 2nd line. So notice this creates a very glaring weakness at A, and now there's a cutting point at B. And C and D are basically Miai. So if white plays from here, black can connect. There's no way to kill these 5 stones. So white will be in trouble here for sure. So black successfully defended. It looks like white captured 2 stones, but in reality white didn't gain anything, because these 2 stones were captured on top of white's wall, whereas black captured 3 stones, and now everything is connected. No questions so far. If people want me to go to a specific part of the game, I'll be happy to do that as well. So basically, I think black just slowly accumulated the advantage. And there were 2 very important parts after, and I'll just skip to here. I didn't mention earlier, but white shape on the right side has always been not great. There have always been some problems. And here, after white made the bad Atari in the center at A, this problem became very glaring. So black just made a very simple move, just Hane, double Hane. And now all of a sudden, these 5 stones are gone. The 6 stones are killed. So this is a 20+ point move, basically, in endgame, created out of nowhere because white made some bad exchanges earlier. And that was basically the game. White had even more issues. I'll point out that in the top, if black just peeps here, white's whole group will be in trouble. White won't die. White might not die, but this will definitely be a big problem. And actually, at this point, it's hard for white to even live, because descending here is not Sente actually. And if white plays here, black can Hane. If white blocks, this cut will create a liberty shortage. So this sequence is worthwhile to remember. Connecting is about the same. You can still Kasumi, and now cut is the vital point. Just remember that if your opponent Atari here and Atari, we should Atari from behind. So there's no liberty shortage for black. So this might be a kill for black. And of course, if you know that that's a vital point, peeping at M18, black could have done it earlier, even here. It's possible that when black Atari here, white may not want to connect. Or if white connects, yeah, then white will probably be in trouble at this point. Looks like black has more liberties. Yeah, white can basically, black can connect here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, so black is up 1 liberty. So white will have to play here, and black can capture the Sente. So it seemed like white had a decent position after the bottom right, but there were reading issues in the late middle game to end game. So basically at the end, black was able to win by a decent margin after killing many stones. So with that, I'll move on to the second game for the sake of time. All right, so interesting opening. Typically, if white wants to play this way, white can just make all of these exchanges. Yeah, honestly, white can also start with this move. Without that exchange, if the ladder is favorable, black can just cut. Even if not, it seems like black can still fight this way. So I think white is just create unnecessary trouble. At the very least, black can clamp here, and that already greatly reduced the corner. Oh, so black in the end even pushed. Okay, so white definitely needs to play here. There's no doubt about it. Because allowing black to cut through is basically saying white wasted a stone at r4. And why even end up with Gote here? And remember, this shape is like kind of like the last game, where it's like a two-space extension paired with another extension. So there's a weakness here. Later, if black tries to attach and crosscut, this will definitely be very annoying for white to deal with. So even that aside, this whole territory is barely 5 points. And if black does anything to, let's say, secure the corner, this is easily 10, 15 points, or possibly more. So black ended up just with a lot more points than white, and all the thickness. So white really didn't gain anything in this exchange. And keep in mind that both sides have spent the same number of moves. So it's black's corner, but white got Gote. Reduce the two-space enclosure on top a bit. Yeah, I get it, but if you want to do it, I think you can just start from here. And if you're so afraid of the two-space influence, you could have just split on from the start. If you do anything in the corner and just leave the r4 stone to dry, then you're really not getting anything. So your game situation is pretty much like you played a split like that. But in this case, black wouldn't profit anything in the corner. And even here, I'll recommend, of course, the corner is the biggest in the early stage, so your move is fine. You can play here or here or here. They both have their merits. So your move in the corner is fine, but I think you just have to finish with Joseki. Oh, and I think I somewhat confused the Joseki here. At this point, this is not the right Joseki, I just realized, because this is at a p4, not p3. So here, the Joseki move will actually just to be this, and then white can choose to Keima, or white can also just Tenuki. I was confusing, I made a mistake earlier. Want to clarify. The other common shape is, for example, black started with here. So this is another similar Joseki. In this case, you can bump back Q4. Okay. So this is a common Joseki. AI evaluation typically like white here. And here, this is a little bit different because P4 is at the high position. So if you play the same thing, your opponent can attach 3-3. And Atari and double Hane. So white will lose out on the corner. So because the P4 zone is farther away from the 3-3, you can just take the corner in Sente and then Tenuki. This type of shape is decent for white because black got a wall here, but of course you have a very strong position here. So you're not afraid of that wall. And it's good to get the corner in Sente. Yeah, here is strange, of course. Black should make the full approach. Okay, here, make this exchange. Okay, so I think you maybe confuse this with a different Joseki. So there's a similar Joseki where your opponent pincer, you jump, kick. In response to the kick, you peep from here. So you can play the full sequence and allow this type of connection. So does this look familiar at all? So in your situation, you don't have a zone at M15, so you can't really make the nice connection. Okay. Yeah, it's nice that you remember there's something, but it's also good to know the full context. So the context of this is white sacrificed some points in the corner to make a stronger outside. But keep in mind that there's a trade-off. Black is getting a solid corner here. But right now, does white really need a strong outside? Even in this case, white's focus is not really on the outside influence or thickness. White really is going after points this game. Because even if white get a wall here, there's no use. Black has a very strong corner. There's no moyo potential for white on the right. And typically, when white does something like this, is because the right side is black's moyo. But right now, it obviously doesn't matter. Yeah, okay, this just popped up, not sure why. Oops. Yeah, so honestly, don't overthink it, just extend. Now black will be kind of in a difficult position because after the kick, there's still a lot of bad aji in the corner. Black really needs to spend another move. But there's not a good way to fix the corner aji. If black jumps or something, there's definitely still bad aji in the corner. You just peep and then attach 3-3. There's still something there. And if black falls back, let's say all the way to here, or even here, then the efficiency is not very high. I would say typically if black wants to defend the corner, just spend one move to jump. That will fix most of the issues without strengthening white too much. So here it's pretty similar to you extending and your opponent played here. At that point, you probably don't want to make these bad exchanges because these exchanges are premature and it basically just made black's corner stronger. I even made this exchange. 7 to 8 might be somewhat neutral, potentially, but it also definitely strengthens black. Okay, did you read out how you might live in the corner here? It's kind of risky if you just start from S4 because you could have Hane at T5 for some endgame profit and you kind of forego that to live in the corner directly. Yeah, get the side. So a common move I think it would be good to know is this one. If your opponent chooses the corner, you can push again in Sente and then you can very easily go to the side. You can also go to the side first and then try to push at Q2 later. So this is a much safer. And if your opponent try to seal you from the outside, now if you push here, this will be a more comfortable life for sure. Here, if black does a little bit more reading, I think it's fairly risky for white. So black can peep here. And it's hard, there's no two eyes locally. White can try to do something with the outside to maybe escape, but it's not the ideal situation. So for example, white maybe get this Sente and then try to escape from here. But then this whole group is still not alive. And alternatively, black can just extend. Because in this shape, it's interesting because black gets T5. Blocking, yeah, this at the very least, if white-black plays this way, black territory will be much bigger than in the game. But I think black can potentially try something more proactive. I would say in this shape, white is actually okay because you still get the monkey jump later. So black's corner is compressed to effectively under 10 points, and you can get the Sente extension to the side here, or I'll maybe consider this move as well. So this is a successful result for white, but this is built upon the fact that black kind of played a slow move here. Yeah, and here, of course, black can still try to play here. This will be slightly stronger. Okay, what do you think about the result on the in the top left? Do you think black gain or do you think white gain? Yeah, you're absolutely right. So white gained massively here. So typically, honestly, white can only play this move. Typical, you just secure the corner, don't do much. And then black made some bad exchanges, and then went to do this. So getting Panuki sometimes is big, but it's definitely not worth giving up the whole corner. So now this is almost 30 points. It doesn't look like it, but this is as bigger than, and like basically this corner is almost as big as black's whole board combined, because there's barely any points here. So now it'll be very hard for black to compete with this fat corner. From black's perspective, a big issue is the biggest issue is pushing here because it gives you a perfect tiger's mouth. If black just even play the Kema, the shave will be much better. And black can even potentially play more proactively, like here. And the strong move against this is to Kosumi the other way. So even if white attaches here, black can jump out, potentially to fight. Or if black wants to fall back, another move is just to Kosumi here. If white plays here, there's the corner will be wide open. Compared to this move, when you jump here, it kind of leaves a wedge to be sente for white. So that's why a lot of times it's better to just fall back to the third line for Aji purposes. Yeah, so invasion, pincer, this is good. Black's Kasumi, kind of a middle of nowhere. I think I bring this up a lot in the games. If your move is not putting pressure on anything, it's just kind of in the middle of nowhere, it's rarely a good move. So I'll categorize this Kosumi as one of them. So if black wants to play white, black either has to go against this side or go against here. The problem with playing moves in the middle is that you're basically playing either as a dame or inside your own territory. So here, obviously, it's now white's territory. But the only way for black to profit locally is either to get some moves here and some moves here. Then maybe in the middle, there will be some territory. But here, black is already taking it away. So later, there will be no good moves. There are times where Kosumis like this is necessary, but that should not be our first instinct. So here, definitely push, and then Hane. If black is afraid of the cut, know that there's a turn. Yeah, right now there's a turn, so there's really black doesn't have to be worried about it. Alternatively, black should think about the other side. And using that one attachment, black came out. Now there's no cut here. Yeah, so fixing weak moves like this H16 Kosumi will just help us gain a couple points each time. And through basically, even without a fight, if we increase the efficiency of our stone by a little bit, over the course of the whole early middle game, you can gain easily another 5 points or so advantage. That's easily another rank of improvement, just by cutting out these slow moves. Yeah, another one is this jump. It's not protecting anything, and if you are trying to maximize, or black trying to maximize territory, then obviously black has to play along the border, which will be this line. It will not be at G8. So if black really wants to play territory here, black will have to play something like here, or maybe here. You wouldn't play here for territory. So it's like if black wants to maximize territory in the upper right, black will play the Kema. Black wouldn't play here for no reason, unless there's something in the corner. But in this case, in the case in the center, that's not the case. Yeah, and at this point, it was a good spot to try to figure out whether black has enough points. because going for territory is a more passive approach. And the more proactive one is to see where your opponent still has some weakness and try to exploit it. For example, try to attach here. If black is behind, then definitely black has to go for something more aggressive. Another common shape I'll point out is this peep. So it's a thing after black has this move and this move. If white blocks, black can push and cut. Notice there's a cut at f5 because of g6. So now if white Atari here, black can cut. This is a pretty powerful attack. So this peep, definitely good, very useful to know. So in this case, most likely white will connect and black can profit here. So sometimes white will make this exchange, but I think in this game white will just block. Black doesn't have to save these two stones right away. This can be just left out here as an endgame. For example, maybe black can play a few center endgames first and then come back here. But this will just be a pretty nice 10 plus point endgame. Here, I'm not sure why white played this move. Maybe it's to fix the Aji, but it just seems like it's fairly slow and passive. And this region, I think white doesn't have to worry about the I shape for the middle group. So if white just plays something here and fix the problems, right? So now the crosscut won't be a big issue. Yeah, so the crosscut in this way won't be a big issue. I think this will be fine for white. So maybe just Kasumi. So in the end game, we definitely want to think about points. Okay, so you made the wedge, so hopefully, yeah, there's still opportunity to make the peep. Okay, so white ended up getting it. I'm not sure, did either side consider this endgame here? Black can also think about attaching here. It involves more reading, but I think it does work. If white tried to separate, black can extend inside. If white connect, black can, in this game, honestly just push cut. But even if this cut doesn't exist, black can make a 2-space jump. This shape is hard to kill. There is at least a ko. And of course, white is weak on the outside, so this is just alive at this point. So white will Atari block here, black can extend. And now there's a clamp Aji, so white has to spend another move to fix it. So this is a Sente endgame, which is basically huge at this point, actually. So typically, honestly, at this point, white should fix here instead of anything else. This is the priority. So white won by a bit, but I think the endgame issue really carried. Okay, so black pushed through. Yeah, what do you think about the trade in the corner? Do you think white gained or white lost a bit? You got more on the side. So I would say actually white lost a lot. So black cut off these stones. So compare if you just Kasumi and then turn. So you still have 1 or 2 points here. What you gained is cutting off this stone, which is another, let's say, 6 points. We'll see, maybe you gain some in the middle, but your corner will be very safe. And black has no point besides cutting off these two. And in the game, the center doesn't change because black still captured these stones, but you lost let's see, you lost from here to here. That's more than 10 points, and you ended up with Gote. And before, you could have just Kosumi here, and this will be Sente. And the territory, you traded 10 points here for, let's say, about 6 points, and you lost Sente. So it's actually not worth it. And maybe there's even a better move. For example, if you came out, black cannot block, you can cut. So if black plays here, maybe you can just push again. Now maybe there's some Aji, so it might not be worth it. But if you want to take Gote, you can play this way, and this will maximize the amount of points in this area. At the very least, Kosumi will be really nice. And then I would say push ones, and then the biggest endgame should be just this Hane Connect. Yeah, so because you gained a lot in the upper left and black didn't get anything in the center, you should have won by definitely more than Komi. So the fact that you only won by 8.5 means that this area you lost a lot, and potentially other parts of endgame as well. You have other specific questions before I move on to the last game? All right, cool. All right, wow, close game, 5 points. Let's take a look. Okay, so white played this move. It's a little early, but it still will be okay, more or less. Okay, so white made this attach block. Let's see. If white wants to go to the side, this is an early kind of a pretty old Joseki. This move still works. White can consider this move. Then white can still maybe have time to protect the corner. If white has to get Gote and block here, this is really ceding a lot of initiative to black. So black can already Tenuki here locally. And even the pincer is fine too. So white didn't lost a corner. The side is still about even, and black's shape is alive, but white's 3 zone is not. So basically white just end up with a weaker shape. Oh, but black didn't play. Black see the corner right away. So at this point, black has to go for the corner. No doubt about it. Maybe some Q players will think white got a strong wall here. But keep in mind of how much white loses on the side. I would say this is a lot bigger than it looks. Because, first of all, black gained several points. And now black can connect here anytime. So indirectly, that strengthened the R10 stone. And importantly, there's still weaknesses for white, like there's a peep here. And if you look globally, this entire white group is not alive. So typically, this move is only used to cut off the bigger group. So let's say if there's a lot of fighting here, and just imagine, so the outside is pretty big. So there's a lot of moves, and black, the point is black's middle is not alive. And then white can use this very strong attack to cut off the center. This is typically how the 18 move is used. So suffer a massive loss on the side to capture the center. So now if white loses 5 points on the side and captures 30 points in the center, that's definitely worth it. But without the center profit, if it's just to gain a wall, typically it's not worth it. In this case, there's not much synergy for white. So this will be inappropriate. Maybe white can think about attaching first to minimize losses, but even then it's a little risky because black can push and then either target directly or even potentially push cut here. So overall, this is a risky strategy. Unfortunately, black didn't play correctly here. Instantly, the situation reversed. Now white got all the corner profit, and that made this stone quite light. So if black wants to connect underneath, white would be totally fine. A stronger way is also for white. White can also consider blocking and start a fight directly, but it's not necessary at this point because white already profited in the corner. So white made 2 exchanges. This is very common in Q games. You make 2 exchanges and it immediately falls apart. And there's nothing white can do. So at this point, I'm not sure if white can read out this result, then there's definitely no reason to play S11. So I think it's important to be very intentional about why we make certain moves. Losing points like this definitely add up, and it'll be a big problem if the game is close. Black jumped again. I always say it's still bigger to expand it from the side. It might be tempting to attack the middle group, but it's oftentimes best to leave your opponent to fix weak groups in Dame. If you attack, this move does have some value towards the top, but it might not be as valuable as taking another big point. Crucially, this corner and this corner are both alive. So even if black tried to do something in the top, but it's only a matter of destroying some territory, which white can definitely gain back by reducing black's influence here. Okay, so some trade, maybe not ideal for both, but I think I like how flexible white is playing. So because black spent a few moves, Atari and then capture, this middle white group is already pretty light. White can profit by reducing black's right side, which white already did, and white can basically connect to the main group in the bottom. White can all of a sudden get a decent amount of points in this area. Before, if we go back even 10 moves, we cannot evaluate this territory for white, honestly. If you counted 10 points, it might still be a little generous, because if black just invade, quite possibly black will end up with even something like this. Black will end up with more points than white in this area. So white has no territory to speak of. And if white can connect all the way here, this is now looking easily 15, 20, even more points than that. So I think pushing here this will be an overplay for white, because white is still thin in the center. Black can block directly, and if white plays here, you can argue the R6 exchange gain is slightly beneficial for white, but that reduces the thickness on the outside. So now black can probably invade around here. Notice in this shape, this is a complete wall, and black has some liberty shortage issues. So invading here would not be feasible, because white can probably Kasumi and Sente, and this is also Sente. So there's no second line connection Aji. Yeah, so block will be the vital point. Here, I think white should think flexibly again, like before. Sacrificing the middle, now would be a good time to potentially sacrifice P3. So here, white can sacrifice here to create a stronger base. For example, here, this will set up a capturing race. Locally, black has more liberties, but white might be able to force a squeeze on the outside. These are moves we should think about during the game. It might not work directly, but if white has a co-threat, this co will be very strong. So maybe here, white can clamp and use this as a co-threat. And white needs 2 co-threats. Well, maybe Atari first, and then use this as a co-threat and Atari, and then capture back. The evaluation is the most difficult part, but this is definitely an interesting variation that white should consider. Or at the very least, white can still profit more in the corner with, for example, this bump. Maybe white can then play here. Actually, this doesn't quite work, but then white can play here and then Atari. So the 3 and 4 exchange will come in handy for sure. Yeah, so white can think about how to optimize the sequence here. Maybe just extend or bump once and maybe potentially escape running up this stone, or maybe push once and then bump. This will maximize the liberty shortage for black. So if white can just sacrifice a p3 stone, the whole group will be a lot stronger. Yeah, trying to save both. If black can just connect to here, now it'll be hard for white to connect. And there's of course another weakness at A. So white's situation here will be very tenuous. Oops. Yeah, so black definitely gained an advantage here because white tried to save everything. Here, if black just push and jump, it's quite likely that the bottom group just dies. Yeah, so white is definitely in trouble. On the right side locally, it's hard for white to make 2 ice as well. So this situation is not great for white. Here, this looks like a slow move. If we just make all these pushes, these are important because it takes away white's eyes. So notice all of this are fake eyes. Now, if black takes away the corner eye, white's only end up with potentially 1 eye here. And that's only if white spends another move. So white basically will collapse. This will be a very, very difficult game for white. In the game, black just spent another move to Atari here. And that's almost like a dominant move at this point because it's just not urgent. So that allowed white Sente to regroup a little bit. Yeah, so at least white get this move too. Now the bottom group is a lot stronger. I would say it's better for white to maybe connect on one side, just so white can get the eye shape in the bottom. Oh, so black spent another move to capture. It's important to note this type of capture is not worth 30 points because black spent 5 moves to capture 1 stone. This type of Panuki is only valuable if through the process of capturing, a lot of your opponent's stone become useless. So for example, if white have stones here and here, then capturing that stone will be a lot more valuable because then it basically means the 1 and 3 stones are becoming useless. Yeah, so the game slowly became an endgame oriented situation. Here it's interesting, does black really need to connect? And what I mean by that is black can push twice and even Atari here in Sente. So you can see there's a lot of liberty shortage going on. If black Tanuki here and white cut, if black just takes away a liberty, it seems like white cannot connect everything. Yeah, so there's liberty shortage here. So effectively there's no cut. I think both players missed that. If black just makes 2 pushes. So the game became closer and closer because black didn't see the opportunity here. Yeah, so white gained a lot over there. And here I would say, let's see, in the end, yeah, black won by a bit. But if black pushes, make these pushes here, white is definitely not alive locally. I would say black can at least push here and then protect the corner in Sente. If white connects here, that's only 1 eye locally. If black pushes again, white has to find a 2nd eye. So even cutting out the center, this will be Sente. White will have to play moves like this. So compared to the game, black will gain a lot in the corner. and black can come back to capture here. And of course, to note, white doesn't have to respond here. White should definitely tenuki and go into the corner. Yeah, so white is good to tenuki at this point to take the biggest point at d2. A lot of small reading stuff, reading issues, but here black chose to capture only 2 stones. But black can actually cut. White maybe try to Atari, but white has to extend here. And because of the Libby shortage, black can just turn. Yeah, this is a throw-in. So black will profit a lot more through cutting here. If white falls back, then black can capture here in sente. That would be much bigger than capturing these 2 stones. And here actually black can extend and just capture. So white will be in big trouble in this situation. Not just capture 2 stones in sente. Black will basically produce a reverse. Black will reverse the semi-I here. So white probably has to do something very different. White has a capture here. Atari once and capture here. And allow black to capture these 3 stones. And that sets up bad aji in this area as well. And later, black still has the option to capture these stones. But luckily, I think black's lead at the beginning was large enough. So in the end, black was able to win by 5 points. Yeah, if we want to think about endgames, I think technically speaking, blocking here would be bigger. Because when black Kasumi this point, that also captures these 2 stones. So that's 1 move to capture 3 plus several points here. That's bigger than everything black can gain. And at this point, black can tenuki and probably take this endgame. So overall, after the bottom fight, the game was firmly in black's control. But because black played several slow moves, white was able to catch up quite a bit, but fell just short. With that, I think I'll wrap all the reviews for tonight. Thank you for participating or watching the recording. If people have any questions, feel free to let me know now, or if you leave a comment in the YouTube video later, I'll try to get to them as well. Thank you.